I'm Shelby Knudsen, a caregiver with a place at home in South Portland. A place at home is a place where we provide seniors or even people with disabilities care from within their home to the best of our ability with understanding and empathy. We want them to be comfortable and provide the individual needs that they have as best as we can. What motivated me to be a caregiver, I feel like I have that natural knack of tending to people's needs. I guess it kind of stems from childhood even, and growing up caring for my family, my brothers and sisters, tending to their needs and wants. And as a teenager, I lived with my grandparents while they were going through some surgeries. My grandmother had a knee surgery replacement, actually two. So I stayed with her and took care of her, took her to her appointments and things like that, and helped around the house as needed. So it felt natural to me, and then being a caregiver was kind of like a calling. I didn't necessarily seek out the opportunity to be a caregiver, but it just kind of happened that way, and it was an honor to be chosen for Caregiver of the Year. So it was a great surprise. Being a caregiver for a few years now, patience is definitely a big one. Listening, interactively listening, understanding, empathy are all a big part of, being a good caregiver, I would say, because there are situations where our clients go through and they're embarrassed and they don't want it, want you to see it, be around it, tell you about it because they're ashamed. So I try to make them as comfortable as possible. I try to have just that attitude and understanding with whatever they're going through, because, we're all human in the end. And hey, one of us may need the same treatment someday. I try to establish trust with someone new by being very gentle in my approach to things. I try to get to know them on a personal level. When I start with a new client, it might take a week to really understand how they are, who they are, and how they do things. But then most of the time they'll open up to me and let me handle things that they wouldn't necessarily trust anyone else to. Everyone has their way of doing things, and I try to respect that as much as possible and learn that because it's important to them. I know that when I go in to give care to a client, I try to give them as much privacy as possible, and I try to be there more as a friend than a nurse, and I think that helps them be more comfortable at home. And if it's appropriate, I like to let my client tell me what they need and however I can help, but I try to let them keep their dignity and let them, do what they can on their own, and then they'll really, if they need help, then I will step in. A place at home, for me, they've always been supportive. They check in on you, see how you're doing, how it's going with your client, and they offer things that if you need anything. They're always there if you need them. Like if you're going through a difficult situation at home and you need to take a day off, you're not gonna get in trouble for it. Instead, they support you, and I think that's very important because life as we know it can get crazy, and they're very understanding and very flexible with my schedule. So I really appreciate that about them.